Okay, the collection from the data logger is almost complete, as we can see here. And here's our CSV file that was created. And I am going to go ahead and collect recent data from both the hourly and minute tables on the data logger. And the reason I'm doing that is because when we set up the dashboards, some of the dashboards do show that minute and hourly or 15-minute and hourly data. So I want to have that available to us. So for the hourly, I'm going to collect about, let's see, so there's 24 records in a day. And we'll do 200, which will be a little more than a week. And we'll call it EcoHouse Hourly CSV and choose the short header. And all the rest of the settings look fine. And then for 15 minutes, include that in the scheduled collection also. Short header. And we'll go 1,000 records there. And that looks good too. So now when I click apply, we're going to see those two new CSV files being created here. And actually, yeah, they will not be created until, actually they should be, let's see. I guess it's the next collection interval. Yeah, there we go. Okay. All right, so that'll take a little bit of time. And while that's going, I wanted to explain something which is a subtle but important thing to understand. What LoggerNet does is that it's not just collecting the data from the logger and putting it in, appending it to the CSV file and without any steps in between. What it actually does is that it, all the clients, all the LoggerNet clients, and that includes things like the connect screen and the setup, they use data. LoggerNet actually, when it collects the data from the logger, it puts the data in to what it calls its binary cache. And then the clients take the data from the binary cache and use it for their own purpose. So the CSV data that we see here being persisted in a file is actually coming from the binary cache, not directly from the data logger. So LoggerNet has some, and I'm not sure, I forget exactly how much data it persists in the binary cache, but it's kind of an intermediate storage that it has. And let me see if I search for it here. Just search for cache. See what it tells us. Okay, LoggerNet data cache. So the LoggerNet server's data cache is a set of binary files kept on the hard disk of the computer running the LoggerNet server, which is this Azure VM that we have. A binary file is created for each table in the logger, in each logger. These files are set up to mimic the storage areas in data logger memory, and by default are 2 times the size of the storage area. All right. When the LoggerNet server collects data from a data logger, the data is stored in the binary file for that data logger. The client applications to LoggerNet, for example, the connect screen, RTMC, data filer, retrieve their information from the data cache instead of the data logger directly. This allows simultaneous sharing of data among the LoggerNet clients. Similar to data logger final storage areas or tables, the binary file for a data logger is set up as ring memory, which means that as the file reaches its maximum size, the newest data will begin overwriting the oldest data. Okay, so that's just a kind of behind the scenes aspect of this whole system that I thought was important to mention. Although it like I say, it's kind of invisible behind the scenes. You don't have to worry about it. But something we did earlier is we reset the binary cache. So let's see. So when we did a reset, tables in the server's cache can be either merged or reset. Merging tables will preserve the data in fields which have not changed. Resetting the tables will erase all the data in the server's cache for this data logger. So we reset before to essentially indicate to LoggerNet that we want to consider that next collection that we did a first collection. So when you do a reset of the cache, because LoggerNet keeps track of where it was or what the most recent data that it collected was using some sort of a pointer that it has into the binary cache. So if the binary cache is reset or if it's empty, it considers that to be the first collection. Okay. So let's see how we're doing here. All right, so we still have about a little less than 130,000 values to collect to populate our hourly and minute files here. And again, what LoggerNet's doing is that it's collecting those hourly and 15-minute values from the logger, data logger, and it's storing it in its binary cache. And then some internal system in LoggerNet is taking the data from the binary cache and outputting it to the hourly and min15 CSV files that we see here. And it looks like it's already completed collecting the data from the hourly table, and it's just working on the 15-minute table now. I'm going to pause here and then we'll come back. Okay, the collection has almost completed here. All right, and we have our hourly minute, our hourly 15-minute, and then per scan. And by the way, the term scan, so the data logger, as it takes its measurements every 20 seconds, that's called a scan. So that's why I've called that the per scan table. And now we're back on a regular schedule here. The first collection for all three of these tables is completed. So now we're just checking in. LoggerNet is checking in every 20 seconds to see what new data there is to store. All right, so we're all set up there. I'm going to close the status monitor. And I'll close the File Explorer. And the setup screen. And something I wanted to show you quickly here is another utility called the View Pro. And as you can see here, it says view data stored in a data file or LNDB database table. So we have data files. So this tool is another way to view the data without having to set up a dashboard in RTMC. So we can open, and we have our CSV files in the LoggerNet folder here. So if we take a look at the per scan table, all right, so you can see here we have another row every 20 seconds in the per scan table, as we would expect. And so before I did a rough calculation to try to collect about 1 a little more than 1 day's worth of data. So here you can see 11:02 p.m. on May 3rd is the first record. Then if we go all the way down to the bottom, we have 3:51 a.m. on May 5th. So that's a little more than 1 day worth of 20-second data. Now, if we open up the 15-minute file, you can see we have data every 15 minutes here. 5:45 p.m. on the 24th of April down to current. Okay. So that was about 10 days worth of data. Oops. Let me open that up again. And then finally, we have the hourly table. April 26th through present. All right. And you can use this View Pro utility to chart data. So new line graph. I haven't used this in a while. Let's see. Let's say the solar, okay? Okay, there's a couple days of solar radiation there. Okay, so there's a lot of options, as you can see up here. You can play around that if you want. That's another way to look at the data. All right, so we're running along here. Everything is good. Let me just take a quick look at the status monitor. Okay, so we're in good shape.